Do you have an idea for a logo but want to see what it will look like in action? Photoshop is a great tool for creating beautiful mock-ups that help you visualize your design. In this tutorial, I will show you how to make a logo mock-up in just a few simple steps. Even if you're not a Photoshop expert, you can create amazing mock-ups to bring your projects to life. So follow along and make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Go ahead and open up your tag image, and as you can see, I've already patched up this image a little bit because I wanted to get rid of the artwork that was already on this tag. So I basically copied and pasted some of the texture from the other tag to get rid of that artwork that was already there. So now use your rectangle tool. I will get rid of the rounded corners and change the size to 1710 for the width, 982 for the height. Rename this layer. I will name it Logo Mockup. Right click, convert to Smart Object. Here I'm going to change my opacity to about 89% so that I can align it correctly. And then I'm going to go up to Edit, Transform, Distort so that I can align the corners to the edge of the clothing tag. And once you're satisfied with that, click the check mark. Now lower your opacity even more and use your pen tool to outline the string and the die cut hole. And then make a selection and make sure your feather radius is set to 1. And then go to select inverse and create a mask from it. Now I'm upping my opacity back to 100%. Double click the thumbnail. And here I am popping over to Illustrator to grab my logo, copy and paste your logo as a smart object and resize it. And then get rid of the background and file save. Now as you can see, my logo is now on my tag. Change your fill to 0% and duplicate this layer. We're going to make this top layer invisible and double click this first layer here. And we're going to apply some layer styles. Let's start with bevel and emboss. Change the style to outer bevel. The depth will be 906. Direction down, size 2, soften 3. Leave the angle and altitude as is. And then change your gloss contour to the second to last one in the first row. Change your highlight to linear light. The color will be white. Change the opacity to 43. The shadow mode should be normal, color black, and the opacity will be 50%. Now let's add a stroke. Change the size to 1. Positions should be inside, blend mode, exclusion, opacity 100%, and the color will be black. Now let's add an inner shadow. Change the blend mode to multiply. Color will be 231F20. Opacity is 72%. The distance should be 13, choke 0, size 29. And for contour, change it to the second to last one in the first row. Now let's apply an inner glow. Change the blend mode to hard mix. Opacity 35%. Color will be white. Technique softer. Source should be edge, choke 0, size 29, and contour should be this one in the first row. Now let's add a color overlay. Change the blend mode to multiply and the color should be 3C, 3C, 3C. and the opacity will be 70%. Now let's apply a gradient overlay. Change the blend mode to normal. Opacity will be 15%. And for the gradient for the first color stop, use 4E4 F51. And then the second color stop will be the color white. Change the angle to 45 degrees. Now let's add a drop shadow. Change the blend mode to multiply. The color will be 010101. Opacity will be 93%. Make sure you uncheck use global light and make the angle 45 degrees. Change the distance to 10, spread is 0, and size is 9. Change the contour to the last one in the first row. And now make your second layer visible and change the opacity to 25%. Double click this layer to add a bevel and emboss. Change the depth to 1000. Size will be 24. Soften is 2. Change the gloss contour to the first one. Highlight is linear dodge add. Color is white. Opacity is 28%. Shadow mode normal. Color is black and opacity is 100%. Now let's add a stroke. The size is 4. Position inside. Blend mode normal. Opacity is 100. And the color is 7F, 7E, 7E. Now let's add an inner shadow. Change the blend mode to multiply. The color is 231, F20. Opacity is 35. Distance is 13, 0, and 29. And the contour is the first one. Now let's add a gradient overlay. Change the opacity to 50%. And we're using the same gradient as before. And now we have a nice logo mock-up. Now here, I'm placing both of my layers within a group and naming it logo. Now, let's say you want a totally different design on the other tag mock-up. Let me show you how to do it. Just duplicate this group, and here I'm going to name this icon. And I am going to rotate it so that it fits along my tag here. Open up this layer. And now with this layer, I am going to create a new smart object via copy and delete the old one. Duplicate this layer and right click copy layer style on the very top layer, delete the old one, and then paste this layer style on that layer. Now copy your icon or your new artwork and paste it within this new smart object. File, save it, and now you have a new design in the other smart object without interfering with your old design. And that is how you make a logo mockup in Photoshop. If you like what you saw today, make sure you click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you want to grab some merch, head on over to threadedsouth.com. Thanks for watching.